It begins with the illustrators. Ben Brown was our lead illustrator compositor. He was really the designer, if you will, of the Aidan 5 look.
I just tried to remember what I always knew to be the four elements of design: line, texture, shape, and color. What can I do to really bring out the design aspect of it? What can I do to make all those things sync? The style and the direction of the show are really finding a way to create this dimensional world from these illustrations and make it feel like there's real depth in the scene, like make it feel like it's a real world, but at the same time make it sort of feel like it's on this sketchbook. I wanted it to feel like someone just drew it before Aidan got there.
He also was the lead compositor, so he knew what he needed to draw so that he could then composite it. He was able to create these visceral landscapes with just a flick of a pen and then bring them to life through After Effects.
The story and the technique work together, but you know, like the story doesn't necessitate the technique and the technique doesn't necessitate the story. We've sort of decided to put them together.
Cool aspect of green screen, you can almost have another directorial pass in the post-production process. Because of the drawings, the nature of that type of stuff, I mean, we could, you know, with the stroke of a pencil, change the entire location if we wanted to.
I knew that we had a lot of opportunity to do things that weren't possible in terms of just budget and manpower. You know, the whole train sequence, you know, I mean, if you were to do a live action shoot of that, if you were to even do like a 3D modeled animated sequence of that, either way you're talking, you know, millions upon millions of dollars. In our world, everything was possible to us in terms of like what can actually just happen on screen, because it's all this low budget effect.
We had another illustrator by the name of Jason Mowry, who we were very fortunate to bring on board and have as part of our team.
Ben gave me a call, and we sat down and talked about the project, and it sounded really wild, just really something fresh, something new.
He worked on many of the later episodes, the second half of the series, and we really couldn't have completed the series without him. I mean, he really helped us get across that finish line. Sean Likely, someone who really started out as our co-producer, who came on and just wanted to fill any gap that needed to be filled and take care of any of the little things that fall through the cracks when you're working on a production. We really needed another compositor.
I had never worked in After Effects before. I'd seen other people use it, but I'd never actually sat down with it and created or manipulated or done anything.
And so he taught himself how to key the shots, and then once he learned that, we said, well, why don't you try a few shots, and why don't you try this episode? And before you know it, he was compositing entire episodes completely self-taught, hadn't even opened an After Effects project before he started working on Aidan 5.
A good friend of mine I sat down with for about 2 hours, I think. He showed me the basics, and then Creative Cow, Video Copilot, that 12-year-old kid on YouTube who knows how to do everything. I learned from these people. It took me about 6 or 9 months, and I'm still learning stuff about it now.
By the end of the series, he was one of the most valuable compositors on the show, and there are entire episodes that are his sole work, and I think that by far has been one of the most impressive elements to come out of this production.
The process of making the show is pretty simple. You shoot your footage on green screen, you have great performances, that's cut together by the editor.
In addition to being a writer, I did the original post-edit on 5 or 6 of the episodes. When I did the pacing of it, was really tough, just because it's just green screen, and a lot of it was just trying to get everything together in a structure and then hand it over to somebody.
He gives me all the footage lined up in what's called a timeline. We have an artist who draws the backgrounds.
I will get a series of stills with the characters with a green screen behind them. And from there, I try and match a background with what the script calls for. You look at where the characters are in the space, try to find the angles, the perspective of the room, and then, you know, you kind of draw around it. Sometimes you gotta put things on separate layers, almost like how you do with like an animation cell. So you've got foreground, middle ground, background. I would say on average it was between like 20 and 40 shots, you know, per episode. After I was done with those, I'd scan them and upload them to a server, and one of the compositors would take them off and put it together that way.
I take those raw hand-drawn pictures and I texture them and layer them, animate them.
As a compositor, you're given a bunch of green screen people, and by themselves, you know, you can watch it and you can understand the story, and the story plays and it's interesting, but it's your job as the compositor to take these people who are by themselves and take these drawings that another person has created as illustrations and put the two together.
You really need that environment to anchor them in time and space. And it's really exciting for me to see that green wall disappear and then be a void there, and then just start filling that in and toying with it and tinkering with it. Is it bright out? Is there a light over there? Is there a car moving? Is the camera moving? I can move them. I can put in camera moves that weren't originally shot.
What can we do to make this scene come alive as much as possible and still maintain sort of the integrity of the world that we've created?
The compositors did an awesome job of just respecting the art and bringing things to life in the background that you know, I didn't anticipate. So that was a really unique process, but it was wild to do all that work and then just send it out there and you know, hope that they see the same thing you see.
You know, you're painting the world in around these performances, and that's really exciting. And that I really like starting a new shot and painting that picture. I'm helping to make something have a complete meaning.
That's sort of become the moniker of the show, is how do we take the elements that we've been provided, create this lit, textured, real world of drawings that, you know, feels like you could just walk into and be a part of.